Today's speaker is Robyn Frost. She was introduced to the chapel in 1999 by her mother, Liz Cutshaw. Today, she lives in Norfolk with her husband, Richard, on property that is on its way to becoming a self-sustaining homestead. An active language learner, Robyn speaks French, German, and Spanish, and is currently studying Sanskrit after discovering the wisdom of the Indian Upanishads. Okay, I welcome you to Robyn Frost.
Wow, I am so glad to be here and sharing thoughts with you, because you all have to listen for a few minutes, and that just means a lot to me. But I am not speaking today for my own benefit. I'm only here to talk about my thoughts and experiences, but I'm speaking for the absolute. I'm speaking for, yes, all right, so I want to talk about intelligence and knowledge. And first of all, there's differences between intelligence and knowledge, even though they're used interchangeably. So intelligence is the ability to process information, to learn how to do so. For example, there's cognitive intelligence, which is problem solving, critical thinking. It's a little difficult for some of us. There's also recently they've talked about emotional intelligence. So how someone is able to relate to others, to have empathy, things like that. There's spatial intelligence, which, oh my gosh, I am not good at this. You have to be good at directions, figuring out where things are. That's not a forte of mine. So there's different sorts of intelligence that people actually, they might be inborn. They might be genetic. Some of us, we start out with a certain level of intelligence. That's up to debate, but I think it's true, at least with spatial intelligence, because I don't have it. There's also, so knowledge is something else. Knowledge is our acquired, it's our acquired information, things we learn, experiences we have, because as you know, with age comes wisdom. We learn, we look at those kids and, oh man, they don't know what it's like. They don't know what it's like. I've been there, done that. You know it, yeah. And those kids, they get older and older the older we get, right? So, that 30-year-old, no. So this experience, the acquired skills, these are things you can learn. So your intelligence, it may be at a certain level, but your knowledge, you can learn things that I'm really hoping to learn my improve my spatial intelligence, but we'll see if that happens. All right, so I want to discuss our external sources of knowledge, information that we gather from other sources. First of all, there's people, our family and friends. We might learn things from them, getting advice from our so intelligent family members, our mother and father. They're just brilliant, right? Right, Mom? Okay. And so we get this information from them. There's, our friends, they say something. Oh, okay, that's pretty smart. So we have friends and family. We also have television. People don't really listen to radio anymore for news sources, but we have the internet where you can find everything. Oh my gosh. Everything's up to date, right? We also have books, which when I was a child, there was so much importance placed on reading. And I think this is wonderful. Don't get me wrong. But, they're a good source of knowledge, and all these nonfiction, fiction, everything like that. There's also science and technology, which is so up to date. It's cutting edge today. We know more about, everything, just even how the brain works, how the heart works, all these bodily functions that people did not know about like 100 years ago. We know that technology, like cars driving themselves. Science is fascinating. I really like it. So neuroscience and technology. What I want to point out today is, I have 3 things I want to point out today. But the first is that these external sources of knowledge are limited for various reasons. So first of all, about people getting our knowledge, gathering our information from others. It's kind of like the telephone game. I don't know if you remember this, but yeah, we see some nods there. One person says something, but it becomes distorted after that and like lost in translation. And then another person. So, what started out is like, oh, so-and-so's living, they're happy, live in a house, becomes like, oh my gosh, this catastrophe happened, their house burned down. Like, I mean, just crazy. So the telephone game, that's not always reliable, all these sources of information. Second of all, the TV and internet with these news sources, they're not always reliable, like honestly. With a lot of this, it seems to me, well, it's pretty much shared by a lot of people, that news, they're there for ratings. They want to get, more people seeing things. Same with the internet. You need to get likes for everything. So it's just, they're not always accurate, because instead of having news or information about what's going on in the world, things that some of us consider very important, very critical for all of humanity, we see weather updates, traffic. There's things that people prefer, or that get better ratings. So this is not always reliable. Also, so books, I think they're very important. I think all of us should read a little more. I want to point out these are fallible too. First of all, because fiction comes from one person's perspective, okay? So in fictional books, we learn about, relationships, or how people handle things, or their thoughts, but this is just from their perspective. So that is external. That's not our own personal experience. As with nonfiction, history is written by the powerful. It's written by who's in charge. For example, real quick, Alexander the Great, our culture knows about this wonderful person from Greece. But I asked my friends from Iran, and they think of him, they know him as Alexander the brutal, just torturer, because he defeated, he defeated the Persian Empire. They view him as an enemy. So basically, history, it's very biased. It depends where it comes from, and it's written in pencil. It's written in pencil, and just whoever's in charge. So this is the external sources. I think we need to take with a grain of salt. We need to use our minds to consider what is biased, where is this coming from, because it's probably for an egotistic, like, personal, it could be for a personal agenda, like the ratings, and you want to get approval. But one more I want to add, that people think science is like the absolute truth. They think, oh wow, this is what the scientists said most recently. It's just, yes, that's it. And that's not true, in a sense that science is only true until it's proven false. It's very subjective, and that's great. Scientists accept that fact. I've noticed though that science is very biased, and we try to think it's completely neutral, the scientific method. But I recently heard an interview with Carl Sagan, and rest in peace. He's a very, very intelligent human being, and Carl Sagan. I saw this interview where he told the interviewer that, I hear my parents after they died, after they're not here on earth anymore. I hear them in my voice. I've heard it a few times, but this is an auditory hallucination. He completely dismissed this as being any other thing other than, well, this is not proven by science. This is just, it's not real. It's fiction. It's my imagination. So even though he's a scientist who's very knowledgeable and very highly intelligent, he just dismissed that. And I think these auditory hallucinations, he didn't have any proof. He probably didn't ask any questions about it. If he would have met, there are some mediums I know who they're auditory mediums. They hear something and they can tell a person, this is what your grandmother said, and people are just really surprised. Whoa, I didn't know you could do that. So I just think if he would have had a different experience with different people, these crazy things he heard, he might have consider that more scientifically. So basically, science is biased. Okay. We have also inner knowledge, which I know a lot of you are familiar with, this internal knowledge. First of all, it has to come with observation. Because if you think about it, our ancestors, they had to observe life on Earth here in order to survive. And so, for example, they saw a squirrel eat an acorn up in the tree, and they thought, okay, let me try this. I'm going to eat that. And then they saw Grandpa like eat this strange like red and white mushroom on the ground, and he died. So they think we shouldn't touch that. let's move on. So people get this knowledge, these life experiences. It's wisdom, and so observation really helps. There's also introspection. So I believe, as was guided by Elizabeth Rodriguez, we all meditate here, and we meditate, and the whole purpose of that, the intention is to still our minds. We're here to just really be quiet and reflect. And I find with this inner knowledge, I learned so much. I learned about myself. I gain new perspectives on the world. This inner knowledge, some people call it, they refer to intuitive intelligence. So this is, we kind of grasp things that people don't really, a lot of people are very critical about their intuitive intelligence because they say, oh, it's, I feel this way, the whole situation doesn't feel right. And I'm touching my gut here because some people, they feel it, and but they just kind of dismiss it. But I think people are now finally acknowledging that intuitive intelligence is real. There is proof to this. In fact, just kind of a side note, but I think intuitive intelligence has to do with our perception, in the sense like we see something, we hear something that's very minute. It only happens for like a millisecond. We can't exactly pinpoint it. But I think intuitive intelligence, I think there's a reason it exists, because it's innate in like all humans and all animals, everything, about the animals. Sure, it's something, we just get a feeling and it's right. For example, if we there's a person who's on TV who's very famous, very charming, everybody loves him, adore him. If we see this person if we see this person in person, we might think, we might feel like, wow, this is a jerk. This is not a good person, and you kind of back away. I mean, everybody, do you know when you feel like bad energy, you just, whoa. Ashe, exactly. Some people like it just doesn't work. It doesn't vibe with us, and so we basically then we get to dismiss what everyone else has thought about this person. So this inner intelligence, it's our own perspective. It's less distorted than getting it from someone else, from another source, and we have our own experiences, which is great. With age comes wisdom, like I said. So I want to point out though that this is fallible too. There's a few flaws in here, and for example, our perspective is limited for a few reasons, and we think we have senses. We have bodily senses, we have mental senses. So vision, we have the auditory sense, touch, all of this. What I want to point out, so we see things. We see things, for example, I see these certain colors, I see people, but it's limited in that, like the human color range, we can only see so many colors. We cannot see ultraviolet or X-ray. We have a limited range of vision. We have a limited auditory noise. We can't hear these vibrations that the plants are talking to us, as I mentioned in my first speech, which plants do. They scientifically have proved that they speak in their own plant language. Anyways, but we have a limited range. And even our intuitive intelligence, perhaps that's limited too, because we're in this human body, we're here on Earth, and Earth is Earth is only, it's just, we cannot perceive things that are beyond our understanding. And for also, we have I think we have the observer effect. People talk about that. It's like the Zen cone. You know, if a tree falls in the forest and no one's there, can we really see it? I think the observer effect has to do with once an observer is part of the experiment, this experiment, it's not entirely accurate. Like if you want to check the tire pressure, the air pressure in your tires, you have to measure it, you have to take a little bit air out. And so you're not really seeing the tire pressure, the air pressure, whatever. But I think the observer, we might have an effect on what we see. And we don't really know this. And all this internal effect, this internal intelligence, this internal knowledge, it comes with what many of us believe is called Maya. It's illusion. So we can only see so much. We cannot perceive God, the Almighty. We cannot perceive this because it's beyond our ken. And so it makes you wonder, wow, you know, I'm this human on earth. My abilities to perceive, to gain knowledge are limited. What then? Should I just give up? Well, I wanted to point out a superior knowledge. We have the external and internal. What I think is beyond all of this is transcendental knowledge. And this is something transcendental. It means it goes above and beyond. So transcendental knowledge. This is a Buddhist expression. They talk about transcendental knowledge. I got my pages mixed up. Okay, so transcendental knowledge is perceiving without using our limited senses. It's understanding something that is beyond comprehension. And the Buddhist translation of transcendental knowledge, it transcends ordinary perception, basically. And I wanted to share a personal experience with you real quick. And this lecture is not about me. It's about, I want to share this to you because I think it's very meaningful. And maybe you'll learn something from it, even though it's from an external source. You can feel it yourselves. But this experience, this transcendental experience I had, I just sitting outside my yard, which is pretty big yard. It's a lovely yard. It's my chapel. I feel very at peace here. And sitting outside like 2 or 3 years ago, and I just sitting and watching, because taking a break from cell phone, external knowledge, reading all this, I took a break and I sat there. That's it. And I noticed these birds flying past. I noticed, we have a fox in our yard, which is not good since we now have chickens, but we have a fox in our yard, and I just noticed these animals, and I noticed the trees, like the wind blowing, and I felt this absolute stillness. And it happened. There was something there that it's like I disappeared. I don't know if any of you had this experience, but this transcendental experience, but everything disappeared. There was no more me. I was part of all of this. No psychedelics, drugs were involved or anything. This was straight, yes. I felt, I can't even describe it, but it was Richard, my husband, he came out, he was worried about me being outside for hours. Like, what's wrong? Are you going crazy? But to me, time disappeared. I had this, and it's just this amazing experience. The Buddhist concept of transcendental knowledge, it has to do with you have an experience, and this changes your life. It changes your perspective. You have more of an understanding of emptiness, they call it. That's a word, but our language is very limited. So we can't really describe it. But this transcendental experience, I feel like I got more knowledge from that because it changed my perspective and how I realized, oh, what they're saying on the news, all that, all people, or social media, whatever they're talking about, that's not it. Also, just what people, I mean, everything just seems so much less. It's the importance, this diminished, any kind of stress or anything. I didn't feel, I just can't explain. It led me to like absolute bliss and just, oh, I get it. I understand the world. This has not happened since, but how this has changed my life, I have just been absolutely a devotee. I've been, for the past few years, meditating as much as I can, reading as many scriptural texts. This has changed my perspective. And as we all realize here, as we all say in our statements, like going back to the Godhead, the source, that's our purpose here. And this really changed me, and is I want to have this experience again and just learn as much as I can. And because this is the absolute reality, this is just my opinion though, because I'm an external source. So you can have this on your own. And I do think it is possible for all of us to do that. But so just in conclusion, I just want to express that you may doubt your internal knowledge sometimes because you don't have the confidence. Somebody tells you, "Oh, that's silly what you said," and you might, just doubt yourself. That's more than many people. Yeah, I see nods. It's true. It's true. You know more than a lot of what people say because of your experience, because of your perception, and all this is limited, just like external sources of knowledge. You're an infinite soul, is what I believe. And so you're all really smart. There you go. You got a lot of internal knowledge, but I do think the transcendental knowledge is something that it's possible for all of us to reach that. And, my only advice, what would be good is, turn off your cell phone, just don't break that out, forget a lot of stuff, go outside and observe and see, and just try to go for the stillness. And I know a lot of you are trying to achieve this just, through meditation, and just go out there, take a break, listen, let it come. And I think this is possible for all of us. I think it's absolute reality. And once you go there, you don't go back. It's just amazing. So thank you. And I hope that inspires.